we decided to try the recommended jetty. Thought there was anywhere to put the dinghy because it was full of spider boats. But as we approached, the spider boat owners very kindly shouted at us, said, come, come, come. They moved their boats out of the way. They directed us to one corner which looked a bit dodgy, lots of barnacles, stone, all that kind of stuff that could puncture the dinghy. And then when they saw the jerry cans, they said, ah, solar, solar, no problem.
So what do you think of today then?
Yeah, great weather, hooray!
Tropical sailing. Oh, it's horrible. Rain, 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 and grey and dark. I mean, it's nearly 7 and yet it feels like it's just gone 5. We are told by the weather forecast that the rain's all behind us, and as we go south it's going to be lovely and sunny. What do you think of that?
I don't believe that.
Well, we've got about 30 miles ahead of us, motoring probably all the way to Bau-Bau, and that is where we hope to provision and get some diesel and a little bit of sunshine. Sensibly, there aren't many other boats around. They've realised that it's a miserable day and it's early, and so sod it, they've all stayed in bed.
What do you think of the anchorage though?
Lovely.
Yeah,
very, very pretty part of the world this.
It's another one of those places that I wish we could stay for a couple of days. That island just there looked absolutely fascinating, but yeah, we just don't have time.
It's like everywhere we've been in Sulawesi, we want to stay everywhere for 2 weeks. If they could just sort out this visa issue so we could get 12 months without having to do any, you know, oh, we would love it here, love to be able to stay here for longer. Anyway, off to Baubau. See you later.
Bye. Look at that. That is southwest. That is where we are heading. But we have to contend with all of this. Look at this. It's so dark and dingy over there, we can't even see land. A little glimpse of it, it's only a mile away. It just shows you how overcast it is. And there's even a bit of wind coming from the north, strangely, which it shouldn't do. But we will continue to venture on now. I think I said we're going to Baubau today. This is a major port. And hopefully we'll spend a couple of days there. We've got to provision, we've got to find fuel and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm hoping is that this all blows over and it will be unicorns and rainbows by the time we get to leave. Well, it's been a very dull motor down to the narrow channel, and dull in many senses of the word, not much going on, but also, as you can see, it's still pretty overcast. So now we are heading into the narrowest part of the either Buton or Buton Strait. We can't actually find out which is the correct term. I think we need to have a look at some local sources, because there's a difference between what Navionics says and what Google says. Some call it Buton, some call it Buton. The narrowest point of this little channel is only 450 metres wide. It doesn't stretch, it's not particularly far, maybe a mile or so. We've seen one ferry pass us today, so hopefully we won't see any more as we approach it. And then of course we come out the other side and turn to port, and we're in Baubau, but that won't be for another, 3 hours yet, I don't think. Just coming up to the entrance now. And on both sides, it's difficult to see on camera, but there are hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of floats that line all the way up there. This is shallow waters, and we're guessing they're either fish farms or perhaps seaweed farms. But they go all the way up there. You don't want to get anywhere near to them at all. Same on the other side as well. So now we're on the other side, and we've just got to get out this channel here, hang a left, and we're at Baubau. Coming into Baubau now, lots of AIS targets appearing on the chart plotter. weather's still miserable, so there really isn't anything to show you because it's just all dark greys and blacks. So there's a little island here we're just passing, and then we tuck round and try and find an anchorage, ideally away from lots and lots of fishing boats.
We've anchored, we're here, it's pissing with rain. Yeah, that's it.
Once she's locked into her phone, that's it, you've lost her. What I wanted her to say was that we have anchored east of the ferry terminal and a little bit further east than the designated anchorage, or recommended anchorage according to the pilot guide, and that's because there's a few fishing boats there. You can see we've got these things here. Can you see them? No, I'll get another shot of those later. Tugs and tows, they're at anchor as well, right in front of us, but we're firmly in, and as Liz says, it's pissing with rain, so what next? What are we going to do next, Elizabeth?
I don't know. What are you gonna do?
Well, quick update. It's going to be our home for the next couple of days while we sort ourselves out with provisions and fuel. And for the first time in days, we've actually got, well, a setting sun. It's not quite setting yet, but and it's revealed a rather lovely little scene here. Apart from these guys, I mentioned these guys earlier. They're pretty close to us. And then on that side, we've got, of course, the usual local men and boys out in their kayaks doing a bit of fishing. And just over there, you can actually see a beach. Now, when we came in, it was high water. And now that the tide has dropped away, it's revealed a whole beach. So there's people frolicking on the beach, not much more than 100 metres away. But we did check the depths when we backed up, and we backed down to 10 metres. So we're probably 8 metres minimum depth, I think. So we should be all right. So yeah, that's it for the moment. Time to just relax. And tomorrow we've got to start thinking about buying things. This morning we are going to provision and get diesel, and we weren't going to bother recording it because it's the same old thing which you've seen in previous episodes, but I just dropped Liz off at a jetty and I thought, no, this is worth recording. I'll tell you why, because the pilot guide recommends a particular jetty. Meanwhile, however, since the pilot guide was published, they've put in a new floating blue jetty which is much more dinghy friendly. It's got cleats on it. However, I've just looked down there and there's about 200 children jumping up and down off the jetty. I never like leaving the dinghy where there's loads of kids, because we did this once in Aceh and our dinghy got half destroyed. So we decided to try the recommended jetty. Thought there was anywhere to put the dinghy because it was full of spider boats. But as we approached, the spider boat owners very kindly shouted at us, said, come, come, come. They moved their boats out of the way. They directed us to one corner which looked a bit dodgy, as in lots of barnacles, stone, all that kind of stuff that could puncture the dinghy. And then I had the bright idea, well, maybe actually we could leave it underneath one of the outriggers of the spider boats, in between the hull of the boat and the outrigger, which they agreed to. And then when they saw the jerry cans, they said, ah, solar, no problem. Solar is diesel. And I had only taken 5 jerry cans because we weren't sure what the situation was. In Indonesia, we're not allowed to buy diesel solar. We have to buy Dex Light, which is it's a biofuel, which I don't like putting in the engine. But I said to him, oh, I've got another 5 jerry cans. Is that okay? He said, yeah, no problem. I'm taxi driver. So I have rushed back to get the other 5 jerry cans, which is what I'm doing now. And then I will record where we leave the dinghy, because it's quite interesting. And of course, as usual, we have an audience of 500 people, lots of children. Should be at school today, shouldn't they? So there we go. That's what I'm doing now. Let's get over there. So here we are at the ferry terminal. There's one of these We Bridge the Nation ferries which we see all over Indonesia. Obviously Indonesia is a nation of islands and it is very well connected with ferry services, which is why pretty much every single island in Indonesia is inhabited, including the ones out in the middle of the ocean. And this is where we're going to tie up, and they've already pulled over their spider boats to keep them out of the way, and lots of kids shouting ashore at me. Here we go. Right, excuse me a sec. Here's my greeting party. How are you? So I've dropped the jerry cans off. The kids have very kindly picked it up, and I'm now going underneath this outrigger. Have a look at this. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
These are my two little helpers. Right, now let's shove the dinghy through the back. No, 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 no. Hello, mister.
Hello.
My helping party, my welcoming party, which is pretty cool. So let's just let this out a bit. This is for YouTube. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
What is your name? Nama?
Ilham.
Ilham. Jamie. Jamie, yeah. So Ilhan is now going to take me to the garage. So is it solar or Dexlite?
Taxi.
No, solar. Diesel. Yeah.
Apa itu, Mister?
Solar.
Solar. Oh, solar.
Yeah.
Solar, yeah.
Solar or Dexlite?
Yeah. Dexlite.
Dexlite.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting Dexlite, which is the, I explained to you already, it's the palm-based diesel. So basically they add a bit of palm oil to it. There's lots of different reasons as to, or theories as to why they do this. Some people argue that it's actually to prop up the Indonesian palm oil business. Others say that it is Indonesia trying to be more green with their diesel. But I ask you, what is green about chopping down palm forests just to get the palm oil, eh? It's a bit contentious for first thing in the morning. I think Liz, meanwhile, has already buggered off to get the laundry. I'm going to shut up and concentrate on getting this fuel. Check out this queue of scooters. Everyone's off to work first thing in the morning. So we just have to check that we can get jerry can fuel. Sometimes they don't allow it, but we're going to give it a go. So you see, taxi driver Ilhan is very kindly allowing us to fill up the cans in his boot. We don't even have to take them out of the car, which is good. So we're filling up with Dexlite. That's this stuff here. It's priced at 13,250 a litre. Now for solar, which is the straight diesel, we've been paying anything between 7.5 and 10. So this is more expensive. It is supposed to be cleaner and more fuel efficient as well. That is one thing about the biofuel. I say biofuel, there's only a small amount of palm oil in it compared to some biofuels. I don't know too much about the subject, so if anyone watching can fill me in on biofuel, and in particular Dexlite versus straight solar, I'll be interested.
Since recording this, we've clarified the Indonesian diesel situation. Solar, which is still used as a generic term for diesel, is actually a brand name provided by Pertamina, the largest fuel supplier in Indonesia. Originally, it was straight diesel, and Jamie was under the impression that solar was still the best fuel for the engine. But this is a hang-up from some years ago, because nowadays all diesel brands in Indonesia are biofuels. Moreover, solar, the cheapest fuel that is now only officially available to fishermen and the Navy, is the impurest of them all and has the lowest octane or cetane count at 48, compared to Dex's count of 53. It's been rebranded as biosolar. The Indonesian government has stipulated that all diesel must now contain 30% palm oil, so whether you choose the cheapest solar or the most expensive Dex, there's no getting away from biofuel. This is an issue because some studies have shown that biofuel is not kind to traditional diesel engines, although Pertamina claims that Dex has a number of additives which protect the engine. Irrespective of this, biosolar is often the only available fuel at many of the remote locations we've visited. Whichever you use, keep an eye on your filters and change them regularly.
Good?
Okay.
Okay, £2,600,000 lighter. I say pounds, let's rupiah that. I worked it out. It's it's 13,250 a litre, which is probably coming in at around about 60 to 70 pence a litre. That's cheap. You know, after all these years, I still think in British pounds, and thank my lucky stars that we're not filling the boat up in the UK, which currently is now at its fuel is now at its highest price ever. That's probably around the world, but I've noticed in Indonesia, I think because it produces its own fuel, and perhaps because it's government subsidised as well, fuel at the moment hasn't gone up in price, so we're doing okay.
Okay.
My little welcome party. So, right, got to get these back to the boat now, but not before I pay the taxi driver. I was going to do 2 rounds of 5, but what's the point if you can get all 10 in? It's because we haven't got Liz here. So that's diesel run done. That was brilliant because all we were aiming to do this morning was just to try and find out the situation and then maybe do 2 fuel runs using grab. Turns out there isn't grab here apparently, according to Liz, who's still at the laundry. So yeah, I'm going to drop these off and then go and find Liz.